who can understand English but cannot talk fluently. So today I'm gonna explain you why I can understand you but I cannot talk like you. Hi guys, it's me Dudi. For those who are new here, I can speak 4 languages: Japanese, Turkish, English, and German. And unlike the comments section, I'm not saying this to brag or flex about my language skills or something like that. I'm not a language genius. When I was learning German, I was crying every single day. Like, how can I be a language genius? I'm just telling this to show that I literally went from the same path that you guys are currently following, and I want to share my experiences. We all learn English in school, but even though if you can understand English, most of us cannot really talk fluently. Even in public schools, most of the people from like different countries get English education for years and years. But we can't talk fluently. Don't you think there is like a huge problem? At the beginning of my English journey, I was able to understand English when the conversation is very simple, but I wasn't really able to express myself and, talk fluently. The first problem that we have in our English or language education system is that the education itself is input-based. So there's so many researches proving that input-based learning is not really effective. We should focus more on output-based learning. But before talking about those and discussing about those, let's firstly learn about what input learning is. So when we compare the input-based learning and output-based learning, we can compare 2 different types of learning styles. Input-based learning styles can be listening and reading, and output-based learning will be talking and writing. In most of the language schools, learning is input-based. We always do like readings and like listenings, but we don't do enough of talking and writing, in my opinion. In one of my all-time favorite books from a Japanese writer/psychiatrist, Kawasawa Shion, the book called Input Daizen, Output Daizen. So basically Input Encyclopedia and Output Encyclopedia. He has like 2 different books. I would highly recommend them, but they're in Japanese anyways. He says that the golden ratio for input and output is 3:7. But most of us do the opposite. So we do like 7 input and 3 output. But we should do 3 input and 7 output. Because no matter how much you do the input, the important thing is output. If you don't output the things that you learned, you actually don't learn them. If you guys have ever watched my videos, you probably heard me talking about active recall, which is the most effective way to learn something, is an output-based learning method. So in active recall, you basically ask yourself some questions and you answer those. So you're actively trying to find the answer. So it's basically an output-based learning style. So now let's talk about how you can do more output-based learning than input-based learning. The thing that I was doing when I was learning English by myself is that I quickly realized that I was doing too much input-based learning. If you don't know, I learned English by watching multiple hours of YouTube videos in English. Quickly, I realized that I was doing too much input because all the time I was listening YouTubers talking, but I wasn't really practicing by myself. And I had no one to practice with me. So the thing that I did is that after watching every single video, I was summarizing them in my own words and I was explaining it to an imaginary friend. I know it sounds creepy, I know that, but it worked for me, but there are better options, I promise. The reason this method worked is that you're actively trying to express it in your own words, and also you're checking if you understood that video. Even if you didn't understand the video, you can still use the vocabularies that you learned from that video in order to explain that video. That really helps by memorizing new words and using them in sentences, and also it really makes you productive at the same time as well. So in Dr. Kawasawa's book, he recommends a very unique way to do an output, and it is opening an Instagram account just for your output. And basically after you watch, read, or hear anything from your target language, you basically take a picture of it and you post it on Instagram and you write something about it. So you are doing output, and if you make them in an aesthetic way, you can probably make money as well. Of course, the main focus is not making money, but it can make money while you're outputting. So this channel, for example, is actually a great tool for me to do some outputs because I'm actively trying to talk in English and I'm actively trying to express myself in English, and it really encourages me to learn English more and hear English more because I read in English, I talk in English, I think in English, in my opinion. And it's much easier for me to express myself in English. I used to like spend hours to film a video, and now I'm just like casually sitting here and talking to you guys. So I highly recommend opening maybe a YouTube channel, maybe an Instagram account. Opening a YouTube channel is pretty hard because it takes ages to edit, but if you open an Instagram account and just like randomly post, it doesn't take that much time, and I think it's just like a great experience to do. You can like see what you consumed through the time while like scrolling, and I think it's just like a great idea, so I recommend. So the second problem that we have is that the lack of courage. So if you're not fluent in English or in any sort of language, you're maybe scared about the possibility that others can make fun of you. And unlike other YouTube videos, I'm not gonna tell that nobody's gonna make fun of you, it's totally okay, everybody makes mistakes and those things, because the reality is, yes, people actually will make fun of you. I'm sorry, but that's the reality. And most of the time, people that make fun of your accent can only talk like in one language and they're still making fun of other people. I just like don't get it. Like why? But monolingual people, I don't know why, will make fun of you. But the important thing is that what you think about yourself. If you love your accent and if you think that you can improve it, or if you accept it in that way, it's totally fine. Don't care about what others says. It's easier said than done, I know that. But by the time more you put effort into your language skills, you will be more confident and you'll start to not care about them, because at the end of the day they can like speak only one language or so, and why would you even care about them? Also, it's not your mother tongue. Of course you're gonna make mistakes, and that's totally okay. There is no need to be perfectionist at all. More you become a perfectionist, more it takes you to actually take the action and do something. We're not perfect, we will never be perfect, so never ever be a perfectionist. And the third factor is that the fun factor. If you're learning a language, if you are a perfectionist, and if you're trying to talk that language perfectly, you'll probably forget to have fun while learning that language. When I was learning English, I was pretty hyped up because I was trying to understand James Charles, and that was the only reason why I was learning English. And more I started to understand his very fast English, and I was really happy about it. And at that time I was obsessed with makeup tutorials and the whole beauty community, and by the time you start to understand more, you start to get more comfortable in that language, and it's like a really good experience. It just gives you a joy. Maybe you're doing it for like academical purpose and you're thinking that, oh, I don't need to have fun. But when we have fun, it's much easier for us to motivate ourselves and do something. So don't forget to have fun and enjoy the process, because once you become better and better, you will remember these days and laugh about them, as I do. As I said, when I was learning German, I literally was crying in our prep year in high school because it was so hard for me to learn German. But I really love German language, German culture, and it was just like a very, now when I look back in those days, they're just like a very good memory. So I would totally recommend you to not forget fun factor and have fun actually. So yeah, that was it for today's video, and don't forget to do your output, don't do too much input. Alright, so yeah, thank you for watching. Bye guys.